Good morning and welcome to the Pearl Planning August 2019 webinar. Today we're focusing on loss and financial decisions for widows. I'm Melissa Joy. I'm president and founder of Pearl Planning, and I'm glad that you've been able to join me today. This presentation is also recorded, so it will be available at any time, and we want to focus today on thinking about widowhood in general, and then discussing how financial decisions can be incorporated into the process of loss. So much of our presentation will be about an approach to financial decisions, but then we will go into a technical checklist for widows of financial topics. And I encourage you to use our recording to meet the presentation where you're at in your process. I also anticipate that this will be a very helpful presentation for those that are trying to help people dealing with the loss of a partner, whether they're financial professionals or they are friends and family who are really looking to help someone they care about out. So with that, let's get started. You know, when people think about money, often they go straight to the dollars and cents in any circumstance or situation. And oftentimes, not just for people who have lost a spouse, but also for people who are going through other financial transitions, you really need to approach the transitions through the stages that the person is going through with their overall experience. So I wanted to first introduce you to the stages of transition, and these have been created by Susan Bradley of the Sudden Money Institute. She has a certification called a financial transitionist. So there are very unpredictable stages that are very important for a person to deal with as they're going through a change. And so, you know, we're talking in here about a very emotional, chaotic time period where one moment, please. So the financial transitions lead into a new normal, and that there's no predicting the amount of time that it will take for all of this to occur. Now, this is a specific look at financial transitions when it comes to widowhood that was developed by a widow herself and was published in Think Advisor magazine. So Kathleen Rael, who also wrote a wonderful book, Moving Forward on Your Own, which is a financial guidebook for widows, goes through these stages. There's financial triage, and then growth in a journey, and grace and transformation. And one might assume if they aren't experienced in working with financial decisions during times of grief and loss, that these would be quick transition periods, but they need to be addressed over time. So we really emphasize that there are, you know, moments in time where decisions are made, and that you, instead of a comprehensive financial planning process where you really take on all of someone's financial life at once, that deciding what you should focus on and what is appropriate to focus on at any given moment in time is most important, because there are a variety of things that are critical to address, but addressing them all at once can be overwhelming, lead to decision fatigue, or just poor decisions in general. So I think it's really important to focus on that as well. So when we think about financial triage, this is an introduction. There's both what is going on now, what needs to be addressed immediately, what needs to be addressed soon. It's important, but we're not going to approach it right now, and then later. And so at any given time, there may be focus on issues that are very important but not urgent, especially early after the loss of a spouse. And so using this financial triage list to keep track of what is going to be addressed but go over it over time is very critical and useful. So we make lists at each meeting, and we can cross them off as we're addressing them, move them up from soon to now, et cetera, which can be a very helpful approach. Also, kind of naming people on your team, because everyone wants to help when there's been a loss, and some people may either be more qualified, more approachable, the right person to kind of be on your inner circle, but it's helpful to also have some boundaries so that you're not being volleyed back and forth with everyone with a good idea for how they would approach things. So everyone wants to help, but if you make a list of who's on your team, both for financial decision making or mental health, I think that's quite helpful. Seeking qualified professionals who are not just thinking about the dollars and cents, but your personal health and your personal needs is also very beneficial. And you can use that team to kind of set boundaries with others and say, I've got my group together. It's different for everyone, but so many people want to do so much to help, but it can become overwhelming. So this is a brief seminar or webinar, so we're going to get into some technical issues really quickly, but I encourage you to hit the pause button if you're really at that point where you need to develop your team or get your financial triage list. But I do want to leave you with some technical issues that could be addressed. This is really a lot of information in a short period of time, so we can go back and revisit any of them if you have follow-up questions, or I can provide you the comprehensive kind of issues list that I use to start out working with people. So first, let's talk about cash flow issues. In almost every case where there's the loss of a partner or spouse, there is a change to your cash flow. So it's important to develop a new plan with the income that is coming in or the cash flow that's needed. There are changes with Social Security, and we have a checklist that I'll review in a moment about eligibility for Social Security benefits. Also, are required minimum distributions required. If you're under the age of 59 and a half and have inherited an IRA, there's important decisions there about turning your IRA into a spousal retirement account or keeping it as a beneficiary IRA. Adjustments to pension, if you had them, all of these are important. And this is a complicated list, but I can send you a copy as a follow-up because I'm not going to spend too much time on it, but it goes over your eligibility for Social Security as a surviving spouse. And certainly there are a long list of rules, but many people benefit from Social Security as a survivor as well as for dependent children. And then other issues that are important. Do you have ownership of accounts where you need to update your estate planning? Certainly that's the case for many, if not all, of those who have lost a spouse or partner. Do you need to go through probate to get assets retitled? For very few people, is there an estate tax situation right now? It's when your estate is larger than 11.4 million if single, or almost 23 million for a joint circumstance. But there may be some benefits to filing an estate tax return to protect yourself from future estate tax liability as the estate tax kind of level or point at which it hits changes over time. And then there can be a step up in cost basis for investments. There may be properties that you were not aware of that are important to be addressed. And an emerging area is digital assets or digital accounts. Should they be preserved? Was there indications within the estate plan for entitlement and ownership? So all of these are important. And while I'm not an estate planner, I do work with estate planning attorneys to help address things and can introduce you to appropriate people if that's where you're at right now. This is a list for a spousal IRA, and it's a consideration that many people don't think about, but if you're under age 59 and a half and will need use of your spouse's IRA for your own personal cash flow, then you may decide to use a beneficiary IRA instead of a spousal IRA. So this goes through some of the decision making that you have there. This is a way to avoid penalties if needed. Also, you'll need to update insurances after a loss. So there are employer insurances, insurances if you're a veteran. There may be life insurance in many cases. And then going back to the Social Security issue, it's often helpful to have a financial professional on the phone. I like to help out even, with just the hold times when you're, exhausted dealing with a loss but need to get on the phone with an employer, benefits department, or insurance. So having, kind of a coordinator that can help triage in that case is often helpful as well. Plus, you're dealing with the fog of loss and oftentimes, or just kind of shell-shocked, and having someone who can record notes from calls and indicate, along with you what you went over can be quite helpful. Taxes are going to change, but there are some options in the year of a loss so that you can make decisions on how taxes will be filed. There also are, tax decisions that relate to using assets that you've inherited or were part of the estate. So it's important to coordinate and anticipate changes in taxes so that you don't have surprises on tax filing dates. And certainly this is an area where a tax professional or CPA can be useful as well. Then going through investments as well, there are decisions to be made. That may be that there was an investment plan in place in the past and it needs to be adjusted for the future, more dependence on invested assets in some cases. So making sure that you have an appropriate investment plan for your current circumstances is certainly helpful and something that a financial planner or financial advisor can assist you with. And then are there other things that need to be canceled or eliminated, state-specific issues that need to be considered? Certain states have estate taxes as well. All of these are relevant as you think about next steps. If you inherit property, oftentimes you receive a step up in cost basis, and that will help to reduce tax liability in many cases if the asset has appreciated from the time it was purchased. This is, again, a checklist that I have available that goes through the steps to determine if you will receive an update to cost basis. And I'm happy to provide that as follow-up to this meeting. I have in this quick conversation encouraged people to consider working with a financial advisor. And there are 6 core values of a good financial planning engagement that I think are really critical to help you evaluate if you're working with the right person. Hopefully they help you to be organized and provide an accountability partner. It's not just for the moment in time that something changes, but I think it's really critical, especially in a significant financial transition, to have someone you can trust who will look out for you during the times of change and be thinking about your current needs as well as your future self. Provide an objective advisory partner and then proactive help on issues that you may not be aware of. Educate you on areas that you may have less knowledge of, and truly be a partner for your financial success. It's important. I have some important disclosures that I need to relate to you, and here they are. But I would encourage you to take action, and if you find yourself in a circumstance of loss, that you are able to take care of yourself and work with a financial professional, such as a certified financial planner like myself, who can address you in a respectful way, both as a person and helping you with the numbers. If you're someone on someone's financial transition team, make sure as you work to assist your friend that you're able to use financial expertise and consider the use of financial professionals. Take your time. Widowhood is a process that is very long, so use the tools of financial triage to make better decisions, or decide which decisions should be made at what time. And if you're listening to this but aren't in the circumstances today, do some planning so that you know that you're prepared for any given circumstance. I'm always available to help, so don't hesitate to contact me if you have questions as follow-up to this presentation or just in general. And I appreciate your time. Thank you so much for joining me on this call today. Thank you. Bye.